So, this is my poor attempt to try to remember the things I'm thinking while I'm reading my homework. I have to write a paper by tomorrow. It's 9:30 and I have four pages, whatever. I just spent the last, okay, two, two, three, four, yeah, like 5 hours writing a paper. Got like to a page and a half. And apparently everything I wrote was a lie because it's not inside here. So we're talking about Charlotte Perkins Gilman's story, The Yellow Wallpaper. It's written in a journal type style. She writes about She writes about this lady who's the narrator. She isn't given a name. Uh, Her husband's name is John, um, and his sister's name is Mary. So it's about this lady. She's deemed to be sick by both her husband and her brother, who happens to be doctors. So they're like high class in society. They're doctors. Everyone respects them. And not much is mentioned about her brother. I got confused and thought that they were talking about her brother, but they're talking about her husband. And he deems her sick. She isn't really sick, um, but he tells her she can't write. She can't do anything. Writing makes her tired or whatever. She expends all of her energy writing. So he constantly tells her do not write. But the whole story is her journalings. So there's no definite beginning, no definite end, no real continuation. Like it'll stop and then start over somewhere else. I can see the themes of this thing is that she's being restricted from journaling, from writing. I guess at the time, I think the time of the author, that women were encouraged to like read and write, but the author actually wrote. She was restricted from doing all of that kind of stuff, but she continued to do it. Uh, Her aunts were two famous feminist movement people. Her father left her as a child, and she grew up in poverty. She got married, had a child, got depressed, divorced her husband, moved to California with her mother, and started a couple feminist groups. Um, and she's like a feminist icon. Anyway, back to the story. She's restricted from writing, so this story of a lady writing a journal is like an allegory to her actual life. Um, they live there inside the diaries. Basically, inside the diaries, they are taken to this like rich palace house type thing where everything is absolutely beautiful, wonderful. There's this room downstairs that she wants to live in while they're there for 3 months, and her husband says no. Her husband says no. They move upstairs to a larger room, more aerated. And this room, everything is beautiful except for this one wall, which has this like putrid, disdainful, yellowish kind of color to it. There's evidence that this room was used for other things. That people did not like this room. There was bars on the window for when it was a nursery, so it's sort of like a prison. The bars represent like a prison. The wall is like disdain, disgust. It's not like a wonderful looking yellow. It's like a putrid, foul yellow, and um, yeah, her husband. Every time she makes an opinion, her husband does not listen to her. He goes on his own. He says certain things like, "If I do this, then you complain about this. You complain about that. So I'm not going to do this first thing in the first place." And everything that she suggests he doesn't listen to, and he goes based on his own opinion. She, and being a doctor, he convinces her that she's crazy or whatever. She has to take all these medicines from him. But yet Silly says nothing's wrong. She's not his main case. Throughout the day, he leaves most of the time to deal with this more serious case, and she's like, "Oh, I'm glad that I'm not the serious case." Right now, I'm on page whatever, what page? Page 162, and she says, it's something that I saw that she said. He says that my imaginative power and a habit of story making is a nervous weakness like mine is sure to lead to a manner of exciting fantasies that I ought to use my will and good sense to check on the tendencies, so I try. I think sometimes, as if I were only well enough to write a little, I would relieve the press of ideas and rest me. But I find I get tired when I try, and it's also discouraging not to have any advice and companionship about my work. When I get really well, John says he will ask Cousin Henry and Julia down for a long visit. He will say, he said he would, as soon as put fireworks in my pillowcase and let me have those stimulating people about now. So he's like sarcastic with her. He doesn't appreciate the things that she does, and that's as far as I got. She feels like, I think the room is symbolic for her life, where it's open. When you look out, you see beautiful things, but you're in the room and there's barred windows. There's no escape. When she tries to find some relief, she is turned around by her husband, who's also, and their marriage is resembled by this yellow, disdainful wall. That when she asks him to, change the wallpaper, he refuses. He says no, and not for something that's gonna only last for 3 months. He doesn't change it, and yeah, she loves everything except for this wall. She can manage for everything except for this wall, which is disdainful to her. And in the real author's life, she divorces her first husband, leaves him. Like I said earlier, her second husband, she's married to him, and as soon as he dies, I think she finds out that she has cancer, like breast cancer, and she kills herself in real life. I haven't got to the rest of it. So, yeah. Oh, she also says the reason why she, before she committed suicide, she said it was sort of, I'm going to paraphrase, it's like, what greater power is it that you could have control over your life or something like that, rather swift and quick death or slow and painful. And based on the work that I just read, it's like she seeks to try to control her life instead of being controlled by others. And that's how she was in her real life, to try to be able to control and not conform to the social norms or standards. So that's it. So, Ronald that's listening to this afterward, I hope you get your paper done. And everyone else, yeah. So,